Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets, interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Wanup. I continue to hope that everyone is staying safe and healthy, and I know that this past week has been an emotional one, and I hope that we're all paying attention, and I hope we're all getting through this. As far as work is concerned, I feel like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel with this quarantine. Feels like I'm going to be back to work in July. I have no definite answers, nothing like that, but it feels like the industry's starting to get it together. I think it's going to be like that call, like, hey, can you start next week? But, yeah. Which, also means we got to get it together, people. No more carbs. There's no more carbs. Maybe scale down to like one drink a week. Or one drinking night per week. Maybe go for a run. But yeah, got to get it together if we're going to be back in public. We got to start grooming people. I think that's our main goal now. Got to start getting it together. So what's Wanup watching this week? Ticked off Space Force pretty quickly. I got to say I think the production designer, Susie Mancini, did a great job with that. I really enjoyed the sets. The show... I think the wardrobe was great because I've worked with that costume designer on Veep, Kathleen Felix, and I think I laughed twice. So yeah, and I love Steve Carell. It was I feel super disappointed by it. So we finished The Wire, which I think on that last episode I said we had finished season 3, but really it was season 4, and now we're done season 5, and I'm writing up a little, special about The Wire and the production design of The Wire because it is phenomenal. It's just a phenomenal series. If you haven't watched The Wire, like I said, I don't know why you're into this podcast. I don't know. We watched the film The Lighthouse, which is a black and white period piece with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, who I think was just made for this movie. Like an old seaman with like an accent, like a Boston accent. He was really good. The story was it's like two guys. It's like a play. It's good. I don't think I have to ever see it again. I'm glad I saw it. The cinematography is fantastic. They're basically using like one light in every shot, which I looked up, and they had such high wattages on these light bulbs in the rooms when they were shooting to give them the light. And also the production design, they built all these sets. They built the whole lighthouse and everything. So really pretty to look at. But yeah, I check it out if you haven't. Another thing I'm in the middle of is Afterlife on Netflix. I love Ricky Gervais, and this is the second season, I think. Super funny. It's very dark. It's about death, and very dark. I love dark humor. So I'm in. And the production design of this quaint little English town I really like. I just think it's cute. I'm wondering if you're like me. We always watch, you flip on that HGTV and see what's on. Have you ever checked out Bargain Mansions? Because there's this chick on there who has, I think, really good taste. She's in Kansas City. She's buying up these huge houses, really great, as she would say, gorgeous remodels. She loves the word gorgeous. She uses it 20 times a show. It should be a drinking game within the show. But she has really good taste, I think, and her remodels are really good. If you haven't checked out Bargain Mansions, I'm always up for that. also wondering, has anyone checked out my YouTube clips that I put up? I like doing them. It's a bit of a work, but I think it gives nice visuals to specific details that come out of some of these interviews. So any feedback I could get on that would be great. Because if you don't like them and you think they suck, let me know. They are on the Decorating Pages YouTube channel. They're also on the Decorating Pages podcast website under Watch. On this episode, I speak with production designer, set decorator, Tracy DIshman. I met Tracy a couple of years ago on the show Animal Practice. I had done the pilot, but then went back to do Parks and Rec, and so she was doing the series. They had to do some reshoots of the pilot before it aired, so I jumped in to help out with that. And so we met there, and then I've run into her a couple times in prop houses, but I heard a couple years ago that she was production designing, which I think is super impressive. So I reached out to interview her because I think it's fascinating that she is jumping back and forth from production designing and set decorating, and how she's able to do that. I really wanted to learn how she's doing that. She's also super cool. She dresses cool. She's got cool eyeglass frames. She's cool. We talk a lot about independent films, how some of her films have turned union, and how, she works with a crew like that, how we met. We talk about that. We talk about how decorators get paid and salaries, and very real conversation about budgeting, especially in independent film. She's worked in a ton of locations for her work, and we get into the film Zeroville, which James Franco wrote. I think he wrote it. Shit. He's the director and he stars in, and she set decorated it. So that's, find out a little bit about James Franco. And then her upcoming film, which is called Music, is directed by Sia. And you get to hear how Sia actually shared her Pinterest page with her. It's fascinating. So I hope you enjoy.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, now's a good time to just forget about it all, for sure.
Yeah, and I think too, as much as we all want to work, it's nice to have off.
I didn't know how much I needed a reprieve until I was forced to take one. And I was like, oh, because usually, we have downtime all the time, but when I'm down, I'm usually hustling in one way or another, right? Trying to make something happen.
The complete stoppage of it gives you no option to do that hustle or worry. Really, I mean, I spend a lot of the time worrying. Even if I have a job, I know I'm going to start just worrying about it. And did I make the right decision? And something else came up, and or I didn't get that, and so it kind of takes that variable out of it. It's nice.
Were you working when this all happened?
I was. I had been on 5 weeks of prep for American Crime Story, the next one. So, and we were 2 weeks away from shooting. So we weren't shooting, and I hadn't dressed anything yet. But and mostly because our first 3 weeks would have been location work. So, but we hadn't scouted or anything. I mean, the designer had scouted. They had locations and shit, but I think all that's gone. I think they had said they're going to work the first 2 months on the stage and then figure out locations. But I think, I mean, it's a 10 episode thing. I think I'm going to be on it for the next year. I think I'll have my wrap party next May. That's my, because by the time they figure it out, we get back to work. Now we have to rush and build all these sets that they can. Yeah. And then it's, shooting. What were you doing?
I was in Savannah on season 2 of Florida Girls.
Oh.
And, so Georgia opened at the beginning of this month, and I was half expecting a call, right? That's like, where it's happening, but instead I got a call saying, yes, Georgia is opening, but Florida Girls is not back up yet. We'll keep you posted. So a lot of the crew is there, but all the talent is here.
Right.
And we kind of had like a little secluded enclave that we were pretty well protected, but a lot of the above the line was commuting from New York to Savannah, like on the weekends. And when we started to get more information, it was like, oh, we might be
oh, you're bringing it in. Oh, thanks. Thanks, you guys are bringing it in. Thanks.
Yeah, so and it's going to be 2 weeks, right? Well, it'll be 2 weeks, and now it's been 3 months, I think. Like,
yeah, almost, yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, for us, it was like a morning meeting of, hey guys, we just don't know what's going on. We'll keep you posted. And the afternoon they brought like everyone in, like construction, everybody. And they were like, hey, listen, we're just going to take it down to just essential people. And maybe if you can work from home next week. And then the end of the day, they were like, we're completely shutting down. It was one day of such a roller coaster that Friday. And then it was like that next week of trying to work at home, but like shit just started closing. Like we can't go to prop houses. Like then it was like, well, there's nothing for us to do. And then that following week they were like, all right, we're done. So see, we'll keep in touch. But I haven't heard really. I mean, at first it was like, oh, they want to start shooting mid-June. They're going to bring us back mid-May. Well, obviously. And then now it's sort of like, well, they'd like to shoot, or they'd like to shoot in August. So maybe we'll come back in July. So I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know either. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I was trying to remember how I knew you, because it's like I feel like I've known you for years, but I was like, I don't actually remember how I met you. So I did a little research on us, and I think it's because, did you do the pilot for Animal Practice?
Yeah.
And then I did the season, and that's how we met.
And we had to overlap on that because of reshoots or something from the pilot.
That's right.
Yeah, we overlapped on that, and then I would see you at like the NBC Center because I was on, I guess, Good Place, and you were, I think, I don't know what I was on. Maybe I was on Still Parks, but I would see you at the NBC warehouse, I think, when you were doing Animal Practice.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I feel like we talked like a year or so later. I think you were designing, and then I haven't talked to you. Unfortunately.
Hi.
I gotta say,
how many?
But I gotta say, one of the things that makes me so interested in you is that you go back and forth from designing and decorating, and you do it so well, and it seems you do it so seamlessly. Like, I know that you're probably focusing more on designing, and that probably takes up a lot more of your time and everything. But it seemed like for a while, at least, that you were going back and forth, and that to me is like, whoa, I don't know how you do that.
Well, how do I do it? So one thing is because I started as a prop master, right? And when I jumped from prop master to set decorator in 44, you can't hold a dual status. So I had to relinquish my property status in order to get my decorator position.
Right.
But when I got in as a designer, because it's 800, I was able to keep both my decorator and my designer cards. And it's kind of a never say never philosophy of like,
hey, say yes. Yeah.
Who knows, right? And I work on a lot of stuff. I do a lot of, I do some TV series, but I just love the indie world where, so much of the heavy lifting is done by the decorator anyway. A lot of the times, like it's a lot, you know, we're not doing crazy builds on a $3 million feature generally. So I don't know. I love both crafts, and I feel really lucky to have been able to, you know, participate in both.
When you're designing indie film, and do you feel like you overstep with the decorator? Like I would feel like it would be hard not to tell the decorator, hey, listen, they got this chair at Omega. Just go down. I know it's there. Like, I feel like that would be me, because I do it now to my buyers. So I know. So I don't know. I would be a bad.
Probably.
Yeah,
probably.
Designer.
I will say, I mean, look, we try to stay in our lane for sure. And I only want to help. And the other thing about indies is that we're usually undercrewed and overworked, and we don't have the time or the resources. So it depends on the decorator and like my relationship with them. If it's helpful, I'm not above like jumping in and, you know, here's 27 Craigslist links list, like, you know. Yeah, exactly. And if it's not, you know, I try to be like, if you need help, let me know.
Yeah.
That's how I try to approach it. And then just give people like, you know, the dignity of their own experience. I also think in creative jobs, like, there's a point where the help turns into like creative vampirism, right? Where like if you're messing too much, if you're putting too many ideas out there, I think it makes it hard for a creative person to wrap their head around it and like get a cohesive vibe going. So
I agree. I agree that there can be too much research.
Yeah.
There can be too much sometimes that it's so foggy that you're like, well, what am I doing here? And then you have to, I feel like, and then I just go back and read the scene. And I really read like, well, what the fuck, what's going on here? Because I'm in love with this chair and they want this. But then I'm like, but what's really going on here? And I just try to go back to the script.
That's right.
As a defense mechanism almost of like, am I doing this wrong? Oh shit, I was in love with that chair and they need like 6 seats and I don't have 6 of them. Like, what am I doing? So it's you know, it helps me too.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, because you lose it sometimes. You get so in love with a chair and you're like, oh man, that would have been so good. But no one ever knows but you. That's what I always think too. Like, no one ever knew how great that could have been, but you and I. And
and there's always another job. There's always another chance for that chair.
Yeah.
Or you just bring it home. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Whoa. I was talking with someone. I was talking with someone, and because I'm in my bedroom because it's quieter. And so I was talking to someone. They go, "Where did you get that headboard?" And I was like, "Oh, that was an elevator door on Bones." And then like someone weld. It's because it's a big iron helmet. And I was like, I just had someone weld it, and then I painted it silver, and voila. Like, then you're like,
I love it.
Look around, and you're like, oh yeah, and that's from. I saved that piece. Like, it was gonna go in the dumpster, so I saved it from. Yeah. Not really. Yeah. But there's also hoarders out there. A bit. I've seen some hoarder people too, which you can't let go of stuff, and that's hard too.
Yeah, as I've gotten older, I've gotten better about, you know, too. I don't bring my work home with me for the most part. Like, I
think too, when we are younger in this and you see the waste and you see like, oh, that is just literally going to go in the trash. Like, I know someone who can have, like, that's a good lamp. It needs a home. Like, but now it's sort of like, I don't have the time to be lamp matching people. Like, so.
Exactly. Yeah. If anything, like whatever the equivalent of a feeder is, but for stuff, I might be a little bit of that. Like, no, here, you have to take this, or you definitely need this. Like, I might do that a little bit. Yeah, but I just find that I get overwhelmed, you know?
Do you think that, because I'm thinking now people who do that, and a lot of it is prop masters. They're always like, oh,
That's right.
I'm just going to bring it from home. I have that. I
That's
think
right.
that happens a lot more with prop masters, but that's smaller stuff. That's not like a big vanity
Right.
and headboards and shit. That's like, that might be a prop master mentality too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was one of the turning points in when I was a prop master. Like, was I going to continue to do that, or was I going to make the change to decorating? And I didn't have a truck yet, and that was the next thing, was I was going to have to get a truck, and I was like,
yeah,
nah, yeah, not for me, for someone else.
That's commitment. You got to pay to get it, like get it and then store it and park it, and it's a lot.
It's a lot. Talk about a ball and chain. It's just like, it's a lot of responsibility, you know?
So let me back up a little bit. How did you start? How did you get into this? Did you always want to be in this creative world, or?
No, I didn't even know it existed.
Well, you watched movies and TV. I mean, you knew somebody.
I did. Yeah, for sure. I didn't know it was like a job. I don't know what I thought. I never considered it, I guess. But I finished school in Olympia, Washington, at a liberal arts school, and just basically got sick of the rain and was like, what's the sunniest place I can think of that I can drive to? And it was Los Angeles. Like, I just took the 5 South, and here I was. And I had some friends here from the Pacific Northwest who were in the industry. And so this would be like 2004, 2005. And they were like, my friend's making a short, just go show up and do whatever they tell you to do. Wow. And that's literally how, that was the beginning of my career, was working for free on a short.
Yeah, but that's like, you pluck into it. Like, you do everything.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I feel there was like, when I was looking for my first job, like, and going, I think it's still around, Mandy or like Craigslist, and like, they're shooting like this pilot, and they need like a production assistant.
That's right.
Sold. No pay? Sweet.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6 a.m. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do it. If you want to do it, you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so on that, what did you see in that day or week or whatever that made you be like, oh, okay?
I mean, I think I was just so overwhelmed. Like, the whole thing seemed so crazy that I really I just did what people asked me to do. And there was a prop master there who had recently, their assistant had taken another job. And while we were on the short, the prop master booked a non-union feature. And was like, do you want to come be my assistant? And I said, yes. And then that feature flipped union. Wow. So I know, it's so stupid. I know. I know. I hate me too, Kim, don't worry. So yeah, that's how I wound up doing props. And what was good about that was that I was on set. I mean, it was like baptism by fire in terms of set culture and life. I mean, like, starting with how do you turn on a walkie to like, now I'm getting my weapons license, and I'm responsible for like firearms and drugs and money and feeding actors and like, all of it. It's a very intimate and hands-on experience. So while maybe my first 5 years, I was assisting and prop mastering, and I started to get stressed out with the tech and the weapons in particular,
right? Because
they're just both so fussy, and there's precision to it it was very micro. It was a very micro approach to a creative outlet. And I saw the decorators running around with throw pillows and floor, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to do the pretty job.
And she's got a Starbucks in her hand and her cell phone, and it looks so glamorous. Little did you know, little did you know she'd been up since 5. She helped unload the truck. She's got a meeting right after this. She's not getting
That's
home
right.
late. Like, little did we know.
That's right. That's right. Oh my God, you wear it well. Yes.
Yeah, we all do. I mean, look, we have to. It's also that sort of double standard that's still around where, I don't know, like Marianne Biddle was emailing or said something on Facebook a couple weeks ago about like, it's only been 15 years or 20 years that we still had to wear pantyhose, or like you still had to really get dressed up for meet, like, and it's like it's not that long ago, but
right.
My first job, I was so insecure at the time and thinking like I need to dress for up and up, and I was wearing heels like almost every day, like a nut job. It is a thing of like, wow, what was I doing? But we do it.
I'm impressed. Color me impressed for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, it is sort of the thing of like, I want people to feel empowered to give me money and give me responsibility and to trust my decision making. And it absolutely is antiquated, but I think it's totally still alive and well of like, I can't show up with,
I mean, I do occasionally. I do show up, rarely in athletic wear or leisure wear or whatever, but those are the mornings of like, oh, we're doing a circus outside and I gotta be here at 3. Like, I'm cold. So, but I've always gotten that sort of thing of like, dress for the job you want, not the job you have type mentality. And it gets lost along the way, but it is a reminder of like, you gotta, but I also think, and you've worked on comedies too, I think comedy brings it down. There's a lot of comedic writers out there coming to work in their pajamas, and I'm not joking. Like
100%. 100%.
I remember getting to Parks and Rec and thinking, I'm overdressed. I'm actually overdressed. And I had a producer say to me, do you have an interview today? Like, they were like,
wow.
What do you do? Like, so then I was like, all right, I gotta do it. I gotta get my hoodie on. I gotta like,
that's right.
So I think it's
my sneaker collection. My Monday through Friday sneaker collection.
So maybe too, it's your environment. You really got to read the room too. Like, so, but but that was a sidebar. So you were doing prop master assistant and then prop mastering, and then you saw decorating, and then you got bedazzled.
So then I was a force hire onto the Tracy DIshman show. A producer brought me on because the designer was still finishing a job on the East Coast, and so she brought me in before he got there, and which those can always go, one way or another. And luckily in this instant, it turned out really well. We had a good working relationship, and his decorator left on that job. And he always did the the Academy Awards, the pre-taped segments before the beginning, or for the MTV Awards, he always did those. And at the time, those were non-union. So he gave me a chance to decorate those when we finished Tracy DIshman. And then after that, he booked Eagle Heart, which the pilot was non-union. And then the show went union, and because I did the pilot, I got grandfathered in for the show. So that's how I got my decorator card. Yeah.
Wow, that was good.
Again,
that was another fun.
Just dumb luck. I know. And so then I decorated for about 5 years, which I loved. And I still love.
I'm trying to look as we talk, just to go along with like, I just interviewed Gino Caballero, who did The Runaways. I love that movie. I mean, I don't know what interaction you had or whatever, but I love that movie. I love that man now that I've talked to him. But I thought that movie was really fun, The Runaways.
It was super fun. So that I did all the prep and like maybe the first week of shooting. That was a really good, okay, so this is really what happened is that when I was still doing props, a designer that my prop master, I was assisting, and my prop master worked with this designer, Deborah Herbert. And she had booked the show called The Riches.
Right.
And I told her that I was really trying to get into decorating and buying. And she said, if you come do this series, I'll make sure that you can shadow my decorator, who was Beauchamp Fontaine, which was an amazing, so I would get all my assistant work done and then periodically it was almost like a ride along. It was almost like, I would go to a few prop houses, or I would go open set with her, or I would see how she did her budgets or whatever. So when Beauchamp booked The Runaways, I was doing the Sarah Silverman show every year as a prop master, and I already had that booked. So it conflicted, but I could prep it and I could do the beginning of the job. So I got to do all the shopping and all the research.
That's awesome.
And one of my favorite things about The Runaways is that because they were huge in Japan at the time. That's like one of their story points. And they're at History for Hire. One of the salesmen was in Japan in his teens at the time and was a total music nerd. And he knew exactly like what fabric was on their Fender speaker. He knew everything. It was, it was.
They are such an amazing resource. I mean, they themselves are like why you go there. They know all of this history. They know like the periods, like the back of their hand. Know that's right. Like that resource to us is like unbelievable. I'm always a fan of theirs. So that's incredible. Oh my God, good luck.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I didn't get to shoot it, but I did get to shop it, and
it's still fun.
Yeah,
that's a fun.
Yes, so fun. I would love to do another something comparable. Yes, so was The Runaways.
So then you're into decorating, and then at some point you're like, oh wait, what am I doing? Why am I doing all this work when I can be a designer?
No, actually. I mean, I should have thought that, but I didn't. Yeah. I was too busy to have a clear thought. Exactly.
Oh, believe me.
Had I had a minute.
I think all the time, why did I ever, because I was on the road wanted to design and got into 800 and everything. And then I was like, no, I want to decorate. And I had to start over and go back. And then I think to myself, like, well, that was dumb. I could be sitting over there being an art director making like 300-400 more a week. Like, I'll be up at 5. Although a lot of them are. But essentially, I think about it all the time, money-wise.
No, fair enough. I mean, that's legitimate. That's legitimate. And I think it's also something that the money of it all really needs to be discussed.
Yeah.
And we don't have to discuss it now, but
well, it's the lowest paid department head. Crafty makes more than Set Decorators. It's no joke. It's no secret. We all know it. Like, it's ridiculous.
That's right. Well, Crafty's a Teamster. So of course, that's right. And that's what I try and tell, because I do a lot of indies, I work with a lot of newer people, and I have actually had the opportunity to get a lot of people into the union on either Fair Nation contracts or on shows that have flipped or whatever. And that's my thing is if a Teamster won't do it, we won't do it. So if they're asking us to forfeit our turnaround, if they're asking us to forfeit our meal penalties, if they're asking us to do an impossible job with the impossible amount of time and people, would a Teamster do it?
No.
And if the answer is no, then hold the line.
Answers are no. I mean,
exactly.
When they do it, it's awesome, and they do get the job done great.
Yeah.
But mostly it's like, well, this is the reality of what's it going to take. And you're right. It doesn't seem to be an argument. Well, if that's what it's going to take, then that's what we have to pay. And this is what it's going to be. But when it comes to creative, it's like, well, can't you guys just you know,
That's right.
this could shoot tomorrow, right? You're like,
That's right.
"Oh, I mean, I could, but at what cost of my sanity?" But yeah,
Or safety, you know,
yeah.
or the sacrifice to the you know what product you're delivering. Like that's a
Oh
real thing
yeah,
too. Like, do I want my name on this if we put it together with bubble gum 20 minutes before you
yeah.
rolled into shoot?
There's been
Um,
many a times I'm like, take my name off of it. Take my name off of
right.
it.
You can have it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and so like here's the thing, it's no secret that every craft, as they become dominated by women participants, the rates stagnate or
Yeah,
decline even.
yeah.
And for us as you know, in 800, we have our, you know, our union negotiated minimum rates, right? Which, oh, that's great. Well, not really,
Not
because
really.
cinematographers are subject to negotiation, meaning they're starting the bar above what you know, way above what my minimum even is. And once you have a minimum established, producers don't want to go too far off of that. They will if you have cachet, but if you are, you know, newer in the industry or an up and comer or whatever, you kind of have to just, and that's another thing, you know, I see these Facebook threads. I don't participate because it would not be good for anyone. But I check them out sometimes. I read the comments.
Facebooker.
Yeah, and there's you know, there's this rhetoric that is, well, if people stop taking those jobs that are for $120 a day, then they won't exist. And I think what gets lost is that those are, you know, tiered contracts are union negotiated contracts. They're legal union contracts. And yeah, it's completely, it is below poverty level in terms of what you're actually getting paid and how it breaks down, and it's unlivable, but it's where we are right now. So I think all of it's really very interesting. I only got an agent because I wanted someone to negotiate my rate for me.
I think it's smart because it takes you out of it, and it's
that's
like,
right.
This isn't personal, and I don't want to deal with this, and I don't want it to be weird. But it sucks that you have to do that. It sucks that you have to then get this third party in there to do it, because I mean, our work is our work, and they're hiring you for a reason. They want you for a reason, and it's another. I understand why it's needed, and I definitely think it is needed, but it sucks that it has to be that way. Really.
Yeah.
And then I think to myself, well, decorators could get agents, but the pittance that we made, what are they taking from it? Do you know what I mean?
Take another 10% off of it? Yeah, no, it's depressing. Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, I don't know. It's the contracts and everything are so stupid. Every time you start something, and how many times I've called the union and asked for my rate, and then they've given me the wrong rate. And then I've gone back and been like, oh no, it's this. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, no, I called the union. They're like, well, this is here. This is what it is. And it's like, all right, I'll be right back. Hey, buddy. Yeah, that HBO contract, that's tricky to read. That's tricky to read. Stop. Tricky to read. What are you saying? Tricky.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sucks. But, and I'll tell you what, I think we're going to get screwed on this too, because, you know, the first thing they're going to say is, well, you know, we have so much money allotted to like COVID production or
that's
protection.
Right.
You know, it's got to come from somewhere, and it's always going to be us. That's what I think. That's what it's creatively.
Well, I also think, you know, they have been just chipping away at our minimum staffing for years.
Yes.
And it's going to be like, can you and you know, tape roll go and do this entire job, basically. And how I feel about the COVID projects is the same that I feel about the tiered projects, which is that the script is never taken into consideration when they're getting approval from the unions. And there absolutely are scripts, you know, up and comers and indie projects that can be done for $1 million and done well and done safely. And a lot of times you get, you know, new writer directors who want the world, and there's 87 locations and 90% of it's night shoots, and they want to do it on a crew of 3 people. And it's like, that's the kind of thing that I think needs to be looked at, is what is the content that we're green lighting, and we're saying, yes, our people can deliver this product.
Exactly. I think you've so hit it on the head with the script, because I know people who work in accounting, and they're like, you know, they set budgets, or they let's just say American Crime Story. They set the budget based on the previous season's show.
Yep.
Well, that doesn't, what? Well, that's a completely different show. It's a completely different era. It's like, what are you talking about? How is that the same? Why didn't nobody like read this? And I know that accountants do read it and they give a full line budget, but in this case, I've heard many times it's based on last season's budget. Well, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Why?
Well, and then it forces you to, I mean, it doesn't happen frequently, but it has happened where, you know, I can see we're coming towards the end of a project and there's still money to be spent. And I'm like, you better spend that money, right? I don't want to be in a situation where I am spending money that we don't need to spend in order to protect myself for the next iteration. Right. But that's the system that's in play right now. I decorated 2 shows for these show creators, Lennon Parham and Jessica St. Clair, for different designers for both show. Best Friends Forever was Jennifer Dagon, and Playing House was Annie Spitz. Right. And for season 2 of Playing House, they were both on maternity leave. And Jessica and Lennon were like, hey, you should just do this. And I was like, but I'm a decorator, I'm in a different union. And they were like, no, you have pre-existing knowledge. We need for you to do this. So they wrote the union and they got me in on 800. And so season 2 of Playing House was my first design job. And it wasn't the plan. I didn't feel qualified. I didn't think that I was allowed to do it. I didn't go to school for it. You know, my drafting is chicken scratch. And yet, turns out, I have an opinion I have an aesthetic eye. Yeah. I know how to break down a script. I know how to think about blocking, think about lighting, work with DPs, work with directors, work with construction people. Turns out I personally don't have to do it all, which is kind of...
That's why we have good people. That's why we're all spinning the wheel. That's why it really is good people, surrounding yourself with good people, that makes, you know, a great project. I mean, it really is. Yeah. But,
and I love it.
But I also think it's important that the decorator or the designer knows that I don't have to do it all. Like it does get overwhelming, and you're reading something, you're like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? All right, day one. But and my lead man and I like to think, like, if we could just if by next Tuesday, our lives are going to be so much easier. If we could just get to next Tuesday, it's going to be fine. And then I really do break it down mentally a lot. Like, all right, as soon as I get done this set, and I'm still thinking about, and I'm still planning on these other sets, but you have to get good people, and you have to be a good manager too.
Yeah.
Your skills.
I think you have to get good people, and then you have to trust them, and you have to empower them to do their job. I am not interested in micromanaging people, and when I have it, no one wins in that situation. You know, and it's also why I love working with the same people repeatedly. You know. And I have done that a lot, because you get that shorthand, and you know what their limitations are, but you know what they're capable of, and you can kind of back that into all of your planning. The last few years, I have been traveling a lot for work. So it's been a new learning curve of, a full new crew in a new, stranger in a strange land, maybe 5 jobs in a row.
You did, you were in Alabama?
I was in Birmingham. I loved it.
You loved it?
Loved it. Oh my gosh. Yes. We should all go buy houses in Birmingham. Particularly for us, because it's a groovy town. It's a groovy southern town. So a lot of people are from Birmingham, but a lot of people are maybe from smaller towns in Alabama who have come to Birmingham for this scene. And because it's so affordable to live there, I mean, everyone is making their art, right? Because they can have a reasonable part-time job or full-time job, and full-time is 9 to 5, and then they have a beautiful studio space, and they have a great house, and they have chickens. I mean, the whole thing, right? Like, lovely, super talented people who are all artisans and all making their stuff.
Who knew?
Yeah. I know, exactly. Not me. I'd never been to Alabama. I was terrified.
Yeah, I would have been like, oh, Alabama. I don't know.
I'm gonna die. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think of Alabama. I mean, I think of some things, and then I think of like, the heat. I guess I think of heat more so than anything. I don't know. Is it hot there? I have no idea. I mean, I hate to get off on a weather tangent, but I'm like, all I think of is like, is it hot there and sticky and humid and like?
So I guess so. But the funny thing is we were there in winter, and it actually snowed for like the first time in 35 years or something insane like that. We took a snow day. We took an insurance snow day.
Oh, wow.
Because the locals refused to drive to location because they're not equipped. I mean, they have no equipment for clearing roads or salting or anything like that. So it was not hot when I was there.
Well, that's good. There's nothing worse than working in humid, hot weather, I think. I don't know.
Yes, agreed.
And how was that experience on the film? Like, how were locations and how was it?
It's amazing, epic.
Awesome.
It is, they call it the heaviest town on earth, because the iron foundries are all there. So all of the architecture, and there's rock quarries that are still there as well. And so in its heyday, everything was iron, steel, brick, masonry. All the architecture is gorgeous brick buildings with casement windows, with like the old advertising still painted on the brick that is 70, 80 years old.
Character.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, the production value is high in my opinion, and we shot at a quarry. You can't fake that. Like, yeah, it was cool. It was super cool. And then just really beautiful, like wooded areas. We did some railroad tracks that were out in a wooded area that it's just, yeah, it was, the movie that I was there for was Inherit the Viper, which was sort of like an opioid family drama gritty thing. So this world really, it just sold kind of like, rural, but at one point there was industry. At one point
it reminded me a little bit of like Deer Hunter when they shot it in Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
That's what it reminded me of. Now
that's exactly right.
I didn't get to watch it. I watched the trailer like twice, but I didn't get to watch that film. I watched I chose Zeroville to watch, but I was gonna do Inherit the Viper, but I was like, I kind of see. I'd much rather ask more about that grittiness that you got out of Alabama that I didn't know was there or existent. So, but yeah, I mean, it reminded me of Deer Hunter when looking at it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that was a good experience, like just as a film, as a crew, because we shot outside of Birmingham and a lot of communities that have just been decimated by the loss of industry. And we were able, it was one of those examples where we were able to leave things better than we found them. which I love. I
Yeah.
love not being the, the locusts that come in and just
Yes. Strip.
ruin everything.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I did Birmingham, and then I did Austin, Texas. I did 2 seasons of a show there for Facebook Watch. And then I did Savannah, Georgia for Florida Girls. And then I did the Adirondack State Park for a feature called Black Bear that just premiered at Sundance this year.
How was that? How was that location? And was that a quick shoot, or was it?
We were there for a month. Mm-hmm. So I prepped from here, and then I was in the park for a month, and it was bananas. We had no cell reception, no Wi-Fi, no completely off the grid.
It's like 1995.
That's right. All over again. Where's my Polaroid camera?
I mean, hold on, I gotta take a mental picture of this. Hold on.
Exactly. It was intense, but it was awesome. Do you know Jenny Durbin?
I know the name. I don't know.
Yeah. She, I was able to bring in my decorator, and she happens to be not only a phenomenal decorator, but also a skilled outdoors woman. So she was a very good asset to have. Yes. I texted her. I was like, "Hey, do you want to go to upstate New York for this movie called Black Bear? It's going to be in the woods." And she was like, "I just passed my bear identification course, so I'm in."
I more would want to ask her, why did you just pass your bear identification course?
I mean, it's good to know, I guess. Yeah.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? It's a bear. Fucking run.
Exactly.
There's my bear identification. Oh shit.
Yeah, so it was awesome. It was one of those things where, like, every lunch break people would go down to the dock and jump in the water and take the kayak back to they commuted from set to their cabin via kayak, and it was grueling and very difficult and very challenging, and 2 hours to the nearest target.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that sucks. But
yeah.
I think there's times when you're like, all right, I got to be creative. And sometimes that works best. I mean, obviously I'd love a target to be closer, but if you can't get to it, or, I don't have time to do it, you got to be creative. And sometimes great design comes out of that too. So I'm scared of that, but a lot of times it has helped me in my decorating of like, oh, I don't have that resource. I got to make this work. We all do it.
Exactly.
We all do it.
So I think it was, my first few years designing, I did a lot of I just did every project that I could get, which included overlapping a lot. Like I would be wrapping one and prepping the next one.
I mean, look at you. You did 12, 15, 16, 17. Like you have so many projects in 2016, 2017 designing. You've got 5 projects a year. My God.
Yeah. And a lot of that was financial. Like I couldn't afford to live on one job, right?
Yeah.
But also, I'm not fresh out of college, and so reinventing myself. It's like I have a mortgage. I need to get the credit so that I can.
You're smarter. Do you know what I mean? You're smart. You're not gonna take that rate. So you're smarter for it. That's also helpful in the sense of I'm glad I'm not fresh out of college and being told hey, here's $1.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, it was a fine line of advocating for what I'm worth, while at the same time realizing okay, I'm starting over in a new career, and having to get the experience and the resume together and, really get myself into a position where I am marketable and competitive, in terms of it can be because, if you haven't done a $50 million job, you can't do a $50 million job.
Right.
And you haven't.
You get stuck in these tiers of like, well, you probably can't handle that. Oh, really? I can't handle 6 sets a day? Thanks. For more money? Oh, thanks. Like,
right?
It's so stupid. You should actually start out big.
I think so too.
Harder.
I think. I mean, it's unbelievable how what we have to do with limited budgets and limited people compared to if you have the luxury of fat budget and a fat mandate situation. It's like, wow, we really can do kind of anything.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to hurt us in all of this is that we can do everything, because I'm sure it's not just going to be my show, and it'll be a lot of shows that are now fighting for stage space and then creating the whole world on stage, which is how it used to be. But, I hope that it's appreciated financially for what we're going to have to do in all of this. Yeah. And I know it's not forever, but hopefully. But I think we're going to get screwed. But in all this time, you're still going back to decorating. Like you're not only designing all this stuff too, you're also decorating other things you did. Like you had Playing House, and then you moved up, and then Britain, and then Good Session and Zeroville. I mean, you're still, you're double duty.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I am. So this is why, right? So I do like a $1 million feature as a designer, and then Good Session was a Fox pilot. So I'd go squirrel away some money and then be able to go design, another thing for less. So that's kind of what I did my first year. And, and I was lucky to do that. At a certain point, I found it in my best interest to, and again, never say never, right? But I haven't designed in a few years, and part of what's so hard about our job is getting people to think about us in the way of what we're doing, right? And because I have changed, positions so many times, I just wanted to kind of stick with something and really try and carve out a niche for myself that wasn't, So that's what I've been working on recently.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, your website's great. It's very clean. It's very visual. I was like, oh my gosh, can I steal this?
Yes, you can.
Mine's like, oh, I got too much shit. I don't know. I'm like, oh, this is so nice and bold, and you know what you're seeing, and it's very nice. I really liked it.
Thank you.
But yeah. Sorry. So also, but I did read on your website that you travel a lot, and that inspires you. And is that traveling personally, or is that have been in your travels of doing location work, do you think? I mean, I know
So, I mean, I was raised military, so we didn't move around as much as some people, and I was never stationed overseas as a result of it, but it is still part of the nature of the upbringing of just we did travel a lot. And then I spent a lot of my late teens and early 20s taking the long road through college of a lot of sabbaticals and studying abroad and whatever, all of this sort of a thing. And so just by nature, I love to travel. And so I think I actually wrote that before, because I only started working out of LA in 2018. So the last 2 years I've been out of town. And in fact, in October of 2019, so 6 months ago, I did my first job back in Los Angeles. I was a little nervous. It was back in the big city, back in the, but also oh, we could just go to a prop house.
Yeah, this is so weird. Shit's
It's
available.
so weird. Yeah. But I think it's good. It's good just for my personality, but it is part of what has made me be able to do this work, right? It just happened to be that it's a good skill set to have, and to be comfortable, you know, in like unknown arenas, I think, and curious and observational, and, you know, all those things that make us who we are.
Yeah. I do think traveling is so essential, just seeing other vernacular and seeing that, like, the everyday shit. Like, whenever I more so as I've gotten older, I want to go to the big tourist things, but I also want to just, like, I need to walk down the side street and, like, see what's going on over here, and, like, oh, that's a weird place for a teapot. Like, or like, oh, that's cool. If I ever get to do an Italian movie, this would be great. And then, like, you hold on to the information, you're like, it's like you're saying, like, I'm never going to get to do an Italian movie, or like, I'm never going to, I don't know. I don't know. I always think, like, I'm probably on my way down. But
and this is where we get real. Okay, good.
Yeah. I don't know. I've said it many times. I peaked at Veep. Like, and it's scary. I have, like, this, like, fear of it. I've talked even with the designer of Veep about it, and he's like, yeah, it does feel like that. It feels like we had something. And I said, well, I wonder if everyone feels like that. Like, oh, it's never going to be this good, even though it was awful. It was so hard and so, like, brainwashingly horrible and so hard. But I feel like my work's never gonna be that good again. It probably wasn't even that good, but it was good for me.
First of all, Veep is lightning in a bottle. I mean, what a gem of a show that looks amazing, by the way. And it's just a quality show. But I think that happens when we're like, we have a good, like, a solid experience, and then you flounder for a minute, you know, and it's like, you wait for the next thing to sort of, like, catch on, and you will. And that's one of the really great things about, like, yes, you know, we had to wear pantyhose 20 years ago or whatever, but one of the things that I love about our job is that I see women 60s, 70s, powerhouses, holding it down. And that is super inspirational to me, where it's like, we're just getting better, you know?
I believe that too. And I also try so hard whenever I run into someone who's been through this world and seen so many changes in our little world too, of, like, well, what's your constant? Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you hold on? And it's usually always, like, good research, work with good people. Like, just do the research and just take jobs with good people, and you'll be. And I think that's true too. I mean, working with assholes is the worst, and it's so draining, and it's so, like, ugh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of, how was Zeroville? Because I'll tell you what, you don't have to say anything. I will say, as a viewer, I was excited because I was like, oh, I heard of this, but I never saw it. I don't know. And then I was like, oh, this preview, I'm in. All right, watching it. And then I was like, I can't watch him anymore. I actually muted it for a while and kept it on, but it was very self-serving, I thought, as an actor and a director, that I was like, oh, this is, like, I feel bad. I feel bad because I feel like I've been in projects like that where, like, it's all about you, and it shouldn't be. It's about all of us and putting this together and creating this. But this is just my opinion of working in our industry and seeing this movie. I could be completely wrong, and you don't have to say anything, but I thought it looked great. why is this on? I thought it looked great. And I mean, you got to go to some really great, like Los Angeles locations and really historic, you know, things. And the lighting I thought was great. And and that projector room I thought was like fantastic that you did and decorated.
Oh, thanks.
So, yeah, I don't know. I was disappointed that it was so self-serving as
right. So, first of all, to be totally honest, I haven't seen it.
Well, a lot of us don't. Yeah, right. Sometimes you don't get a chance. You're busy.
So there's that. But so there was an interesting experience because, first of all, it's star-studded. Like it was
my God, there's so many people in it. There's so
everyone is in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got
Will Ferrell's really good in it, actually. Yeah. I mean, he's funny. Yeah.
Yes. So we got to, we did. We shot in some amazing locations. We got to recreate the filming part of Apocalypse Now. So we went to the bamboo garden at the Arboretum and recreated the set. And all the research that we did on, because his main character is an editor, right? So it's about the actual filmmaking of, and I think we spanned like 1972 to 1985 or something like that. I don't remember anymore. But so keeping up with like that rapid change in terms of technology and whatnot. And we got to talk to some real characters who still had all the editing suites and whatnot and could use the cutting of film and then be able to like be on-set techs for our actors so that they knew what they were doing. So that was all super cool, but and I think this is what I will say about it. I think it's really hard to do a low budget project that's period and not have it look like a costume party. And I think this one looks pretty good in terms of, period.
Yeah. I thought the period was great. And I think capturing like Hollywood in that time is always really interesting because it's dirty and it's kind of gross. Yeah. And it's like the line has come off, but no, I was like, oh, and now they're at the Lautner house. Like it was like, oh man, then I think that's the LA Times building, and like, oh, like so I was like, oh,
right.
You had so many locations for that. I was like, this is like a decorator nightmare, but I wish I could have gotten through it. But so I think I had like a half hour left or something, but I was like, I don't even care how this ends. At a certain point, I was like, I don't know where this is going. I don't know where it ends. Megan Fox is so beautiful to look at. Like, I hate you. I can't look at you anymore. So, yeah.
And I think that was part of the problem. The DP, by the way, is lovely. And one of the things I got out of that job was that DP went on to direct his own feature in the Salton Sea. So I spent a month out in the Salton Sea art directing his feature like 2 years after we had finished Zeroville. And I don't know how much time you have spent out there, but that's another kind of must experience.
Yeah, my husband keeps wanting us to go out there, and I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm like, we don't go, but that is one place. Like, he's like, no, it's awesome. You got to see it, and so yeah, I've heard it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty incredible, and and so for a month I lived out in a trailer, and like again, completely off the grid, and super cinematic, and very cool community. But that's not my point. My point was that. I don't remember what my point was.
That's kind of the
Zeroville.
That's kind of the
movie. Oh, I'll tell you. I remember. I got it. So we did that movie, and it all came together very quickly. We shot it very quickly, and then it kind of like went away, and never heard anything again. And what I learned was that because there were so many strong comedic actors, but it's based on this book, which is not particularly funny. It's kind of it is sort of a narcissistic, like,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm sure
gritty.
I'm sure he played it perfectly, but it was like,
Totally. Totally. And they didn't know how to either promote it or market it or what the final edit was supposed to be. I think they were taking a movie that we shot as a dramedy and trying to make it comedic because of the, because of the star power in it. So that, it's so interesting, these projects where it's like we do our part, right? But then there's so many other
elements that we don't have control over, or
that's right. So many other circles of hell that it can just get stuck in because, So, and that's something that I went to a production designer roundup at Sundance this year that was talking about how we're increasingly how design is going into post. And, world building that we do in physical production, but then is sort of expounded upon in post, and how there's really no communication between, right, VFX and production designers.
It's hard when I've talked to designers who have been in a lot of like visual effects type movies of like, I don't want to say like, hey, that looked fantastic, and then like they didn't do it. Like, what's your collaboration on that castle? Like, because it's done so well. I don't know. As a viewer, I don't know what is set and what is green screen at some point.
Right.
Like, it's so it's advanced now. But yeah, I would think that the production designer would be in every meeting. I would think that.
Right? Yeah. And that's part of what we were talking about, very much like, directors do a director's cut and cinematographers do color correction. It feels like production designers should have post days that are solely dedicated to communicating and downloading and kind of collaborating with VFX. But what do I know?
I think you're right on it. And I think you'd have almost 100% of production designers agreeing with you. Like, it's that element being taken out of your hands could that could change the whole tone of what you are going for. So no, I think it's a huge discrepancy in our little world. A bummer.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. I was gonna then just make you talk about Sia. I want to hear about music. I want to hear about what's going on.
Holy cow. Well, I mean, that's another one, right? Where it was like we shot it 3 years ago, I think.
Oh.
And that, I mean, it's the hardest job I've ever done. Really? Yeah. And it just
so what is it about?
Okay. All right. It is a narrative story about a sober drug dealer woman played by Kate Hudson, who is brought back to her, kind of urban tenement life, childhood life, to take care of her little sister, who is a low functioning autistic spectrum girl played by Maddie Ziegler. And in their apartment building is Leslie Odom Jr. and did I lose you?
Oh, you're wrong.
Okay. And then like there's sort of a love story that happens there. But so that's all sort of very character driven, neutral palette, or that it's just the city, right? It's like a non-defined metropolitan urban area. And then interpaced into it are these wildly fantastic, surreal musical numbers that is the internal dialogue of Maddie Ziegler's character.
Oh.
So, so it was like doing a feature film and 8 music videos in, 28 days or whatever we had to do it. And we had before we started principal photography, we scouted New York because originally it was going to take place in New York, and we locked our exteriors there, and then came and found interiors that would match in downtown LA. And then halfway through shooting, we lost our exteriors in New York. So while like in between, you know, shooting our location work, building in Pasadena it's at the Rose Parade warehouse factory where they do all the parades.
Yes.
So we had a different massive set there every week that had to be built in time for the dancers to practice their choreography on before camera. Like, it was insane. So in the midst of all of that, we had to find new exteriors here that matched what we had already shot for the interiors. Yeah. So it was, I mean, it was ambitious. It was an ambitious project. And Sia is lovely and super creative, obviously, and kind of a like an aesthetic powerhouse. Like, she just knows what she likes, she knows what she doesn't like. She's very direct, she's very efficient in her decision making.
Yeah,
100%. And then we wrapped, and it went to the edit, and 3 years later, the first teaser dropped yesterday. Yeah, it's called Together, and it was they did additional photography after we wrapped. So I actually did not design the teaser that came out yesterday, but our art director stepped up to do Lee Poindexter. She stepped up to oversee the reshoots, and it's in keeping with what the rest of the feature is going to be. And I think the release is going to be at the end of August, beginning of September. So we'll see. But that was another one where it was like, wow, we really put blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, and is it ever going to see the light of day, you know?
Yeah, that's the worst. That's the worst. That's the worst. And or doing, 10 sets and only 5 of them get seen.
I know, right?
But
I mean, it's such a good reminder to just like not put too much of myself into anything, where it's like to stay boundaried, right? And like, this is a job. I'm doing my job. I'm not giving birth here. It's gonna be okay.
No, it's not. It feels like it's not gonna be okay, but it is. It is. And like I said, hey, only you and I will ever know that chair didn't make it to set.
That's right. That's right.
I'll cry myself to sleep tonight and give myself lashes that it didn't get there, and apologize to the production designer when things go wrong, but no one really knows but us. It's crazy. And I always try to think too, like with that production, or with I forget I was calling it music, but
yeah, that's right, music.
Like that editor probably has like so many like cuts that he did, and now you got, a music video and a movie. Like, it's so crazy how much we all like self-sacrifice in the process of it too. It's like, it's heart-wrenching sometimes. But, that's fun. So when you do a project, do you find inspiration, like with Sia? Are you finding inspiration from her previous work, or are you trying to go like above it all, or like out of it? Are you trying to stay with like a Sia look, you know what I mean? Like a Sia type thing? Or are you trying to introduce something new to that? Because I feel like I would just do what Sia likes. Like, I don't know. And then,
I mean, you kind of do what Sia likes.
That's what I thought, but I don't know.
Yeah. She had a million things like she had Pinterest pages and, just documents of like visual reference of what she wanted for different things. And
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. If the director's coming here with Pinterest pages, I don't think this is going to work out. I've got my own Pinterest pages. Million Pinterest pages. Oh my God.
So
Yeah,
you were invited to see his Pinterest. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes. Yes.
That's pretty awesome.
My favorite was getting texts from Sia. Just like, you know, our life is crazy. But the other thing about that movie that was interesting that I hadn't dealt with before is that we shot it 35% desaturated. And so all of our color testing, we had to do more camera tests on colors than I've ever done because we had to see how it was going to actually shoot after it was. So like the real sets were a little bit more vibrant than what it, you know, how it was shot.
Down so much.
Yeah.
So is that in every scene, or was it just the dream sequences, or it was in every scene?
Everything across the board. It was everything. Wow. Yeah.
That's a fun little loop to be thrown into of like, oh yeah, now I really got to think about this color. I really got to.
Well, that's the thing. It was like, oh, you love that wallpaper? Okay, well, are you still going to love it? Yeah. At 75% or whatever. Our decorator on that was Amanda Hellberg, and she did an amazing job of just having options and keeping things layered and keeping, you know, because your instinct is, I would think when, or at least for me, when I would be thinking about this like gritty world, you instinctively would be going for like the browns and the grays and all of those neutrals. And she did a good job of like calibrating her eye while she was shopping. So bringing in a little bit more color than you would instinctively think to do, but knowing that it was going to come back down again. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great like fun project in a project kind of deal.
Yeah.
I'm sure annoying, but fun. I think it's fun though. I think it's like when we get those little things to do. We like projects. We're those type of people. We like projects.
Exactly. We sure do.
Do you have a film or two that has inspired you overall?
Like that I've worked on or that I've seen?
That you've seen. Like oh, I loved like Wizard of Oz, or like that, like what, like.
I mean, who doesn't love Wizard of Oz? Let's be honest.
I hate it. No, I'm kidding.
No, lies, lies.
I'm kidding. I don't like It's a Wonderful Life. I don't like that movie.
I don't like that movie either.
Right? It's not a good movie, and it's really badly acted. I might say also.
Can we definitely start like a film review podcast after this quarantine goes on much longer?
Guess what? I don't like Sound of Music either. My husband almost threw me out the other night. He's like, what? I was like, no, I don't want to watch this. It was on. I go, I don't want to. Why? I've seen it. It's like 3 hours of it. I can't. I'm not watching this again.
No, you don't have to. You know what?
No, I didn't
have to.
I didn't. We turned on the wire and it was over.
Exactly. Let's see. Movies. I mean, gosh. I can't even, of course, because I can't think. And also, I've been watching a lot of TV right now. You know what? I want to do the next, what?
How about like right now, what are you watching that you're like, oh, that's really good. I wish I did that.
Killing Eve.
What? Killing Eve? Yeah. Killing Eve. Killing Eve is good. It looks good.
It looks good.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what I would like to do. Hey,
I really enjoyed this interview with Tracy, and not only because we got to catch up, but having such a truthful conversation about budgeting and our wages and struggles of independent filmmaking is just great. And I really appreciate that she was so candid. She was really good. So I really can't thank her enough for all that time. And she actually had to sit in her car to get good reception. So thank you for that. I'm really looking forward to that Sia movie, though. I watched the video that she refers to for Sia's new song, Together. It's good. It's catchy. I like it. I mean, I watched Dance Mom. So, yeah, I know. Shocker. I watched a shitty reality show. But that little girl, Maddie, the dancer, she was really good. She was like the best one on the show. But I feel like she's kind of depending on Sia for her whole career. I mean, I've never seen her in anything else. But anyway, the film music will be out in September, hopefully. So I'm looking forward to seeing Tracy's work in that. And I still wonder what the hell else is on that Pinterest board, man. I would love to get a load of that. That would be awesome. Next week, I have set decorator Brandy Kalish. I'm giving you this heads up so you can catch up on some Silicon Valley and Dead to Me before you listen, because she has got some huge and fantastic sets to talk about. Hey, so we talked about this last episode. How you were going to go to iTunes, the rate and review section, and rate this podcast. And I know, we got a lot going on. I know, you forgot. It's totally fine. We got a lot going on here. But I'm just going to keep reminding you. So you might as well just click. 5 stars. Thanks. I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanna for Decorating Pages. Do you need a great Father's Day gift? Give Dad the gift of relaxation in the pool with a Stogie. Stogie Floaty, luxury pool float. Available now on Amazon, Etsy, and StogieFloaty.com.